So, Sahil, explain to our viewers who may not be directly familiar with Congressman Doggett, just to kind of put into context who he is. He's, of course, the first Democrat to ask for the president to withdraw. How significant is it that he took this step?
Well, it's significant, Ryan, because he's the first, and this is something that many congressional Democrats have thought privately. We've spoken to a number of them who have said they believe the president should step down, but Lloyd Doggett becomes the first one to say so publicly. He is a long-serving Democrat from a safe blue district based in Austin, Texas. He's 77 years old himself. He has served since 1995. He's the second-ranked Democrat on the Ways and Means Committee, one of the most powerful on Capitol Hill, and he seems to be giving voice to something that a lot of congressional Democrats think privately but are unwilling to say. He talked about various things in terms of why he wants President Biden to step down. Of course, the debate performance was not reassuring to him. He talked about that Supreme Court immunity decision, between that and the prospect of a Donald Trump presidency. He spoke of a kind of a descent into authoritarianism if President Biden doesn't step down and make way for someone who Doggett believes would be better. And then, of course, Doggett mentioned a former president, Lyndon Johnson. Let's show this quote. He talked about how Lyndon Johnson made the surprising decision in 1968, to step aside. Doggett says, quote, "I represent the heart of a congressional district once represented by Lyndon Johnson under very different circumstances. He made the painful decision to withdraw. President Biden should do the same," unquote. Very notably, Ryan, Johnson announced that in March of 1968. This is now July, and that's one of the arguments that President Biden and his campaign, his advisors, have been making to supporters, that there's no apparatus in place for a replacement if he were to step down now.
So to that point, Sahil, do we sense that this could be the crack in the dam? Will the floodgates open here? Or would Doggett be taking this step without being confident that maybe he'll be joined by others? Is he on an island right now?
Well, yes and no. In terms of other members of Congress, there's nobody else who has explicitly called on President Biden to withdraw yet, but there are other prominent Democrats who have said he should go. That includes Adam Frisch, who's a candidate for a major congressional district in Colorado, the 3rd District. He came within a few hundred votes of beating Lauren Boebert last time around. He's a closely watched candidate who Democrats are putting a lot of stock in. Julian Castro, a cabinet secretary in the Obama-Biden administration, sat in those cabinet meetings with Joe Biden, said the president needs to step down, that there are other Democrats who can do better. And just in the last few minutes, Ryan, Congressman Jared Golden, a Democrat who represents a red district in Maine, put out an op-ed in his local paper, kind of an unusual op-ed, saying he expects Donald Trump to win this presidency, even though he won't be voting for Donald Trump, and dismissed the idea that Trump would derail American democracy, said U.S. democracy is strong enough to survive Donald Trump.
Yeah, he didn't call on Biden to step down, but basically said he doesn't think he can win. You know, the private, now public calls to withdraw have also been met with the question, if it's not President Biden, then who's it going to be? Interestingly, today, Congressman Clyburn was asked about that. He actually said he'd support Vice President Harris in that scenario. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I will support her if he were to step aside. But I want to support her going forward sometime in the future. I want this ticket to continue to be Biden-Harris, and then we'll see what happens after the next election. No, this party should not in any way do anything to work around Ms. Harris. We should do everything we can to bolster her, whether it's in second place or at the top of the ticket.
There are a few Democrats as close with President Biden as James Clyburn. He's a campaign co-chair. Should we be reading into the fact that he's even dwelling on this hypothetical?
Well, we should only be reading into it to the extent that Jim Clyburn seems to be calling off any of the other candidates who might be trying to jockey for that position if Joe Biden has to step aside. But Clyburn made abundantly clear he doesn't want Biden to step aside, that it should still be a Biden-Harris ticket. But Clyburn's remark in that his warning is still very notable, because Clyburn is a very powerful Democrat in a very powerful state. South Carolina was crucial to Joe Biden's nomination in 2020. It's even more important now because it's been moved further up the calendar. But beyond that, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think Clyburn is not ready to give up on Joe Biden. And Biden himself seems to have bought a little bit of time with other Democrats with that interview that he has announced on Friday. This is what multiple Democrats have been telling our team, Ryan, that he's got to get out there in non-teleprompter settings, that he's got to be unscripted and show that he can do this, that he's still got it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.